do if they brought the power grid down? And by they, I mean if the government purposefully brought the power grid down. And I'm not asking that question for fun. I'm asking that question because the World Economic Forum is predicting that a cyber pandemic, you can look this up, they've been running exercises about it this year, is inevitable. You're probably saying, what is a cyber pandemic? Doesn't make any sense. Like, what are we even talking about? Well, first and foremost, the reason I'm even paying attention to the World Economic Forum and their exercises is because they notoriously, in 2019, ran an exercise for a coronavirus pandemic that oddly all became true. I mean, without one slight difference, they said that the coronavirus was going to escape from a wet market in South America. Of course, when the coronavirus swept the world in 2020, they said that it escaped from a wet market in China. You can still look that up, by the way. That's not a conspiracy theory. They simulated that coronavirus pandemic. It was the World Economic Forum in collaboration with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Across the country and here in Chicago, Tesla vehicles are being targeted as a backlash against Tesla founder Elon Musk.
Go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Elon Musk has got to go!
These people are malignant clowns.
What a week, huh?
We need to speak out. We need to be courageous. They come after me all the time. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they call me a criminal. They call me a traitor. Their MAGA minions online come after me to try to intimidate me, to create fear. I'll tell you my response. My response to that is screw you and the horse you rode in on.
Somebody slap me and wake me the up because I'm ready to get on with it.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk and his hackers don't know.
To think that Elon Musk or Donald Trump give a about our public schools.
It's total absolute
Trump. I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecies, where nuclear weapons will be used so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity and one world government. And I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop the battle of Armageddon and get to reality.
That we're going to experience what we've never imagined.
It's just a kiss away. War, that is, on every single front. Isn't that the case here tonight? God, it's so good to be back here at Real Deal Media's #1 late night show, World at War. Yes, I am Dean Ryan. That's right. I'm as mythical as the forestry Sasquatch, but I'm here and it's real. And I'm late tonight a tad because of Elon Musk. In fact, there's a lot of problems in my life, and Elon Musk is the center of them. That's right. You just saw there incriminating, a cringy yet very toast-worthy effort by the CCP light animals themselves, formerly known as the Democrats. Yes, the varmint of the DC Beltway are really essing their britches, and it could not be more just defined as poetry in motion, don't you think? We have a huge show here tonight. Tonight's episode is called The Kill List. The Kill List. Because the kill is now here as the purge by the former hunters, who are now becoming the hunted, are really starting to pull no punches as we are now going into Mach 5 here in the United States, as we are turning the key. No pun against turning the page is the campaign from last year, but yes, we are. We're going to be turning the key here tonight to talk about a whole slew of things, especially with the attack on journalists, which is just astounding. You might have heard we're going to be getting into the Infowars untimely death of Infowars reporter Jamie White. John Bowne will be joining us for that here shortly. As well as we're going to get a really very, very much needed take on everything happening in Ukraine, as well as Doge and what they're finding. Jim Fetzer will be joining us here tonight, as we have a wonderful power trio, and I couldn't be more fortunate to have them here tonight. But we're also going to get into, which I'm very just watching by the hour here, everything happening in Canada right now is coming down to the minute, as we're really not just a shot away, but a tariff away, to quote that phrase, as Trudeau, his nylons are getting a little just chafy, as people are caving over there. So we're going to see if the 51st state or if it's going to be the province of China. We're going to be getting into Canada tonight. I can't wait for that one. Plus, some major things in the political world with Act Blue. You might have remembered them from the Obama years. Yes, the legendary Act Blue. They are now being accused of fundraising again, but just how legit is it in the wake of the U.S. aid and everything we've discovered from that? So we'll be giving the proctology of Act Blue tonight, and I couldn't wait. And a major apology, too, from a foreign leader, a wee man over there, and I don't want to say where, but I'm sure you can guess. And then finally, we'll end with some great news tonight, maybe a few of your questions, comments, and concerns for some of the RDM All-Stars here tonight. So let's get started, but before we do, where my manners, we are broadcasting live on The Real Dean Brown over there on Facebook, and which, by the way, I have a note to share about that. I received an email from one of the robots at Facebook that they said now, if you watch on Facebook now, starting today, or I think we have until July, I'm not sure, but starting recently now, anytime soon, Facebook is not going to allow live shows anymore on their platforms to remain on their platforms longer than 30 days. And that includes the archives. So I have the incredible hard task of trying to figure out a way to save the entire Real Deal Media archive that's on our Facebook page. So I just want to give you a public service announcement. And we are on Dean Ryan TV over there at the Graveyard on YouTube. Good to see you. And as well as Rumble. Don't you know? Let's get started with a few headlines from around the world and in your neck of the woods. Well, yes, it's a different kind of climate. It's a different kind of world, but it's a different kind of response. But we'll talk about that shortly. Well, there's a lot of protests now. You might have heard about this happening nationwide with Tesla. The former just love and the apple of their eye of the liberal bastions and the latte liberals for that fact. Well, no more. No, it's good as dead to them. It's scum, in fact. Well, what am I talking about? Well, there has been a lot of protest and a lot of vandalism in just the last week against Elon Musk. Well, let me tell you about it now. As now it's Tesla shares are now down, or excuse me, they've risen 4% after a major slump. But also protests against Tesla linked to Musk's political role. You might have heard about that. Musk has now pledged to double Tesla productions in 2 years. Now, in wake of that, of the recent violence against Tesla, I mean, just in Texas alone, over 44 Tesla dealers, or cars for that fact, have been damaged, have stolen tires. I don't even know how that works. You leave your car, you come back, your car is on bricks. Not sure. Interesting. But also, there is now a movement to stop all this mayhem. Well, activists who've now recently staged, of what I've been sharing with you, the Tesla takedown, as they're now calling it, that's totally organic, we're sure, to voice their displeasure over Elon Musk and his role in the administration, but the sweeping cuts of the federal workforce at behest of Trump and the cancellation of contracts. I mean, I didn't know so many of the activists felt so strongly about this unless they're part of the Hire a Activist.org. I think that's what ActBlue is all about. Well, yes, so they're very upset about that. They're saying they're harming a great American company, Trump said at a recent White House press conference, referring to the demonstrators, and now said, this is a big one, Trump says he will label violence against Tesla as a domestic terrorist act. And I'm telling you, this is a big step because this is only going to ramp up, and we're seeing this happen across the country with other protests that I'm sure you heard about. But where is this going now? Where is this all leading up to? Because this is not organic. This is very timely in the wake of the Zelensky debacle in the Oval Office, which I can't get enough of. There's been a lot of very unusual things. I mean, we have now a forest fire in the state of New York. We had a plane go down just the other day, I believe in Alabama, and it could be happening now for all we know. But we have now a very shocking announcement, untimely death of a very popular Infowars reporter. Here's a little report. Check this out. We'll discuss after.
Police on the scene in East Austin at Douglas Street and Old Torf Street. A 911 call came in just before midnight last night. Barrett Tryon has been there for us within the last few hours to figure out exactly what police are saying from that investigation. Good morning.
Police really releasing few details about what happened overnight, but this is what we do know right now. Police say they actually found the victim here in the parking lot of this apartment complex. EMS ended up taking that man to the hospital where he later died. Right now, police will not say exactly if he was shot or stabbed, only saying that he had obvious trauma. Homicide detectives still on scene, as I mentioned this morning, collecting evidence. We've seen also a lot of activity in a second floor apartment where they've been taking evidence bags out. Right now, police say they do not have any information about a suspect, and they're asking if you know something about that to contact them. You can also remain anonymous using Crime Stoppers.
March 10th, 2025, and I come to the Infowars family of viewers and listeners into the world with some really horrible news. There are a lot of really cool people that have worked at Infowars over the years, and one of the most amazing people was Jamie White. He was up here last night working late during the Sunday show and after it, and we even have his last post on X where he responded to Elon Musk. Jamie was murdered last night outside of his home, just a few miles away from our studios. And we are the folks here breaking that news first because his family has been notified, and his good personal friends here that were very close to Jamie have talked to his folks and family. We sent some people over this morning when he didn't answer the phone, because he's always here early, loves to work, loves to fight tyranny, loves to promote freedom. And when they got to the apartment complex, there was yellow tape everywhere and blood all over the parking lot. And we went and talked to the manager. They didn't know anything. And they made a phone call, and she had the details when she talked to him and knew Jamie. The police officer said, yes, he died at the hospital very soon after they got him there. The police responded within 2 minutes, and they had him at the hospital where he was pronounced dead within 18 minutes.
What a shocking revelation, and quite frankly, we have not seen such an attack on reporters since Michael Hastings of 2013, if you recall. But to speak about this tragic death, especially throughout all of independent media, is my former Infowars colleague and friend of the show, the one and only John Bowne. John, it's sad that we have to have you back on such an occasion like this, but first of all, how are you doing? The high alert must be through the roof at the office over there in Austin.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware that we also had a swatting event today.
I was just going to bring that up. We had a SWAT.
Chase Geyser's house.
Yeah, Chase Geyser, who's, I believe, a host there, he was SWAT teamed at his home late last night. So
it was actually, I believe it was this afternoon.
Okay, it was this afternoon. So not even 48 hours after Jamie's death.
It was earlier today, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. When did you hear about the untimely passing, and then let's get into the expansion of it all.
I heard pretty early on. Darren McBreen let me know pretty quickly what was going on, and this was well before we knew anything. Almost to the point to where at that newscast that you showed, it was still in question as to whether who had actually been killed. And now there are newscasts all across Austin that are referencing Infowars, and much to their chagrin, by the way, and Jamie White as being the person that was the victim. Wow. So I knew early on, and we did know that Jamie hadn't shown up for work. So that's how we knew initially. And Jamie was one of these people that just was completely reliable. The reason he was a senior writer is because he was somebody that we relied on to get things done. And on top of his excellent writing and his research, he was always there. In fact, my reports were posted mainly by Jamie. And this was kind of a silent thing that we did between each other. It was just kind of a known thing. So, that connection that Jamie and I had, we were both as employees. I'm a contractor of Infowars. He's an employee. He was an employee.
And he was a young man too. How old was Jamie? He looked very
35.
young.
He was 35.
Okay.
He was born in 1990. Yeah, and born in outside of Cleveland, in Stowe, Ohio, and raised as a Catholic. A great piano player. The more you learn about Jamie, the harder it hurts, because he really was such a somebody that you recognize. You feel comfortable. He's not this kind of character that
he's down to earth.
Well, not only that, he's just somebody that could have been your friend. And
I would say majority of the people that I remember from Infowars, I mean, great people, the whole entire staff. I mean, not John and a whole lot of people, but John, I got to bring this up too. Let's talk about the details of this very grim death here. Let me just share some of the things. This is what's coming out of Natural News. He was killed in Austin. Now, you told me this was east Austin.
Yeah, this is Pleasant Valley area, which is a very hardcore area to live in. If you go to Twitter, there's a guy that's going around on a motorcycle taking video of the area just to show you how hardcore it is.
They're describing this as severe injuries, and he died shortly after being hospitalized. What type of injuries are we talking about?
We know he was shot through his carotid artery, which it's amazing that, as Alex said, it's amazing that he lasted 18 minutes. Actually, I guess the total time was 20 minutes since he was shot. And so he was shot also in the arm. I'm not sure which arm, but he was shot through the carotid artery and bled out. And what's amazing is that the police actually arrived within 2 minutes. And, if you live here in Austin, you call the police, 911's a joke in your town. I mean, they don't show up 8 to 10 minutes if you're lucky. So they were there because that's such a high crime area. They already have patrols there. So they were on the scene. They tried to stop the bleeding. They got him into the ambulance. They rushed him to the hospital. He died.
Okay, so all right, so
18 minutes later,
they shot a shot in the neck, which is a very fatal blow. Okay, who's the culprit? Who are they suspecting? We don't know yet.
And so I did a Substack on this, and I went through kind of my rage, and what I did was I raged through data and information that just how far Austin, Texas has fallen in the numbers as far as crime is concerned, and the amount of car break-ins. It's an epidemic here. So from his sister, the Independent had interviewed his sister, and she said that his car had been broken into around Christmas. And so it sounds like he wasn't having it again, from what I can tell. And he went out and he confronted the people breaking into his car, and they shot him. But with the added, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to, this was, I believe, on his X account, and maybe you might know more than I do on this end. Which, by the way, we covered Jamie's articles and reports every time he had one on this broadcast. But it's said to be that he was claiming that he was on the Ukrainian kill list. Now that sounds crazy to the naked ear, but it's not. Because Tucker Carlson's on the actual kill list. And here, I want to show you this too, John, as well as Jimmy Dore and a whole host of people. Here it is. Let me get your take on this.
Roger Waters is the one that blows me away, that they would have the gall.
Yes.
Roger Waters on the kill list.
Yeah, so there's a whole list of people.
Jones is on the kill list. And we've known this for years.
Scott Ritter. Yeah.
Scott Ritter. Yeah. I mean,
he's great.
And so we've known this for years, and we just kind of ignored it. But it really raised some red flags after this incident. And I don't think that is what happened. But, a lot of people will speculate and say, well, they can cover it up and make it look like a car break-in and a mugging or whatever.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And John, we can't forget that one of the head generals of the Ukrainian army had a mansion in Palisades over there in LA around the fire that burned, I believe. And
the guy that runs the website, I'm not even going to try to attempt this. Well, I guess I will. Mitroverts, whatever the name of the website is. It's run by an NGO of a former security official for the Ukrainian government. And so it's tied. And then the servers are supposedly in the United States and in England. So it has this kind of globalist aspect to it. So there's a lot of, questions around that. It's brought a lot of light to that. And maybe that's we're going down the wrong path on that. But I think it's good that we brought light to this kill list, and the fact that, that the Ukrainians, I mean, there's videos all over of them shooting dummies dressed up like MAGA, and, and they hate Trump, and they hate Republicans, and they hate, any Americans that won't send them our tax dollars. So the Ukrainians are a problem.
John, I got to broach this
problem here.
I want to broach this with you too, and want to bring you back in our next segment as well. But I as you know, I don't know if you know, I'm sure we spoke about it, but about 5 years ago, when Trump was in office last time, Mike Adams of Natural News was approached by a major law firm in Connecticut, the creepy state over there. And the law firm was trying to bribe him with things in addition to like a good standing on Wikipedia, because that's kind of who controls things. If he were to attack prominent conservatives in America today, and it was Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, which I had to check twice in case it was a typo, but Sean Hannity and the other one being Alex Jones. And here we are 5 years later, Trump's back in office. John, I don't think it's out of the question to think that not only are J.D. Vance and Donald Trump at a very high risk right now, but so are the big players right now, as the Democrats are unhinged and they're trying to do their own insurrection and get a civil unrest started. Do you see it that way? And let's talk about the safety concerns for all your colleagues there.
Yeah, my spider sense is going off about the desperation of the dying New World Order. I mean, it's their own people that are declaring that it's over, that the New World Order is floundering, and there are people with billions of dollars that have invested decades into this New World Order, and of course, we're talking about people that would make the Genovese mob family look like amateurs. I mean, these people start wars. They kill millions of people. And so they would do whatever it took as one last desperate measure to reclaim control, because they're all about control. So,
John, I don't know if you saw this, but this is your colleague Chase giving great detail, which will add to our story here about what happened to him, as you said earlier this afternoon, which is just astounding. Let's hear what he has to say as he was SWAT teamed. And this happened to what Marjorie Green Taylor.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about this. Ukrainian enemies of the state list. Jamie was on it. Alex, you're on it. I'm also on it. I reposted earlier today that I was on it. And I think a lot of the Ukrainian supporters, I don't know if it's from Ukraine or not, it could just be leftists here in the United States, are using that list to weaponize swatting.
Yeah. Okay, so that was that's vindication of, or confirmation rather, of what happened. But in closing, John, are there higher security measures now that people are taking? I mean, I think we all should be taking it right now. If you are telling the truth in a world right now of universal deceit, this poor young guy, man. I mean, it's so sad. But this could be either one of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, the saddest part about it is just the humanity of it, is the fact that, I know what he on a day-to-day basis was going through. We don't make a lot of money, and we haven't been able to get a cost of living raise even through the Biden years. We've been going through this lawfare, and so we haven't, as the cost of living went up, we've all struggled. We're all making, half of what everybody else is making. And so that's why he was living in that neighborhood. And and so the thing that really hits my heart is the fact that, he was just doing exactly what I feel like I'm doing. And that's just putting the information out there for my fellow Americans, just so one day in the future that we can get past all of this and get to a point to where we're living in a great country again. And it's not about making America great. It's just that all of these people that we've gone after, that we've exposed, that we've put ourselves in the spotlight. I mean, people know, they know who Jamie is. They know who Chase is. They know who you are. They know who Alex is. We've put our lives on the line to expose these people. And it's not easy, and it's not glamorous. It's not, you're not going to be financially rewarded. It's the reward is, and
saving the country, saving the country.
Yeah. And so that's it. And passing it down to the next generations and
so
where, but I think we've done that. I think Jamie, I don't think, his work was done in vain. I truly,
he was great. He was a great writer, and we should all, go back and look at all of his articles. But John, I'm going to bring you back in the next segment with the Dr. Fetzer, and send all of our condolences. And I know everybody here has been worried about you, and you're okay. I can see that. You told me
I'm strapped. So I mean, And
All right.
I mean, go ahead, bring it, man. I mean, if it comes down to that, but I'm not worried about it. I think this was a result of the Austin DA, Soros DA, and what he's done
could
to
be.
Austin. And I grew up partly in New York City, so I'm very street smart, and I know how to protect my family. And so I don't, at this point, I don't think it's a globalist move on the chessboard, but the thing with Chase was very odd.
It is odd. It is odd. Okay, John, I'm going to bring you back, and we'll get some questions from the audience too. We have a lot of people who have some inquiries. Okay, stand by there, John Bowne. Very, very sad story to hear. 35 years old. Can you believe that? Unreal. Anyways, we're going to continue here as Jim Fetzer's on deck, and he's sharpening knives for some reason. I just assume he's carving wood. But anyway, this is interesting here. Speaking of the Doge and why they're so pissed off at Elon, not because he makes not the most nice looking cars, but they're mad because of, well, the sludge funds and the CIA lunch money is being cut off. Well, now it's official. You know how it's official? Because now Marco Rubio is saying 83% of U.S. aid programs are all deep state and globalist slush funds. That's right. Well, when Marco's saying it, you must know something is going on. Well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and it still pains me to say that, well, with the support of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, I don't know what that is. We know Doge. We don't know what that is. Has now dismantled U.S. aid into many charades of its former self now. Yes, it has. Ending of decades of taxpayer-funded corruption, left-wing globalist agendas, and all right, just pork barrel waste, as they call it in D.C. 83% of the U.S. aid programs canceled, totaling 5,200 contracts. Indeed, with tens of billions of dollars. Now, remaining 18% of the programs are now to be overseen by the State Department, ensuring accountability and alignment with U.S. interests. Also, USAID exposed as deep state slush fund once for all, funneling taxpayer dollars to the radicals, NGOs, destabilizing allies, and undermining American values, as the Doge is proven to be the instrumental force uncovering government waste, fraud, and all-around dirty deeds. And that is some real deal headlines to me. I tell you, it just, it's darkness before the dawn, they say. But, man, are we ready for some light around here? I tell you. So let's get to real deal politics, shall we? Real deal politics. Yes, it is. Well, right off the bat, this one is something interesting now. Some positive news, as I'm not always a Grim Reaper, but when I am. In this case, Trump is now touting manufacturing revival as February jobs report signals economic shift. This is a big deal, and it's a positive one. Well, what do I mean, you might ask? Well, President Donald Trump has now celebrated a net gain of 151,000 jobs in February alone, with 10,000 manufacturing jobs added, double the expected 5,000 that many people familiar with the matter were predicting. Well, he also contrasted this with the loss of 110,000 manufacturing jobs during the last year of the fake rubber-masked President Biden, framing it as evidence as the economic policies reversing in decline. It's like de-aging in a way, they say. Well, Trump emphasized the manufacturing as a central position of his economic agenda, criticizing NAFTA, which I think that's on the last days. We'll ask Jim about that. Well, Trump also reiterated his use of tariffs to address trade imbalances, specifically targeting Canada's 250% tariff on U.S. dairy and lumber. See, did you know we always had that? Well, economists now warn the escalating tariffs could lead to higher consumer prices, supply chain disruptions, with attributing the manufacturing job gains to business preparing for potential tariff impacts. So this is good news on that front. And then this next story here is we're going to get Jim's take on now, is many people have asked, well, whatever happened to Zelensky after that Oval Office masterpiece theater that I just absolutely loved? watched it almost as many times as I've seen Star Wars. It's that great. Well, in this case, now Zelensky, well, he's not the return of the Jedi, but the return of the beggar, I should say. Well, Zelensky now is apologizing to Trump after the disastrous White House meeting. Yes, he is. The Ukrainian president and the drag queen of Ukraine also is now apologizing privately to President Trump for a heated Oval Office confrontation that strained the U.S.-Ukraine relations. Now, the February 28th meeting intended to finalize rare earth minerals deals that devolved into chaos over disagreements of diplomacy with Russia, that very terrible country that just invades people for no reason. Well, Trump accused Zelensky of not just being Sean Penn's boyfriend, but also risking the global conflict, failing to appreciate the U.S. aid, leading to suspension of military assistance if the deal remains unsigned. Now, despite the apology, Zelensky publicly defended his actions, with his advisors stating Ukraine would not apologize for a mistake that they did not make. Wow. That is something to talk about a bit more about peace in this case, and just how wrong or right as Zelensky is. Our very own RDM political analyst himself, the one, the only, Jim Fetzer. Jim, welcome to World at War.
Dean, delighted to be here. Well, this Zelensky is very responsive to pressure. So from the humiliation of the Oval Office, he did a U-turn and said he was apologetic, wanted to move forward. Then, under pressure from Macron and Starmer, he reversed himself again and said, no, he wasn't going to sign the mineral deal. And they were putting together an ersatz force under French nuclear umbrella to attack Russia, putting together 200 and 384 billion euros. I mean, it was ridiculous, because it turns out under French law, they can only use French nukes to defend France. So the whole thing was preposterous. Now, believe it or not, the latest reports we have, Zelensky has apologized to Trump. He's agreed to a ceasefire of 30 days. But the fact is that Putin won't consider a ceasefire of 30 days. He wants a permanent solution. And a ceasefire of 30 days would be viewed as merely an opportunity to reload the howitzers in Ukraine. So, Dean, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. But Trump has, after turning off the intel and American support, turned it back on.
Well, this is what I find interesting as well, Jim, and we have another story that is congruent to this in the country of Congo, but it's said to be that the minerals that Trump's looking for don't necessarily exist in what's left of Ukraine, yet Russia, as they regained the regions of Ukraine that were being ethnically cleansed by the neo-Nazi fascist government over there, they have all the minerals. So it's almost a win-win for Trump, Jim. I mean, it's like the casino wins no matter which way you slice it in this case.
Well, Russia holds all the cards, Dean. Russia has defeated Ukraine militarily. Ukraine's lost over 1 million men. Russia, maybe 150,000. They have the better supply lines, a superior force, better production facilities. Ukraine's having to resort to kidnap kids off the street and put them on the lines to be slaughtered by the Russians. In Kursk, Russia surrounded a massive Ukrainian force, and they have a plan that any soldier who tries to desert is shot on the spot by the Ukrainian higher ranking officers. So
it's terrible.
It's a devastating situation for Ukraine. There's no way they're going to come out of this on their terms.
No, they're not. But I want to get your take on what we were talking about earlier. You know, Jim, you watch PMSNBC, off air, not by choice, I would say, but you would probably know more than anyone. The Democrats, and we're not a very partisan show here, but you can't help but notice the Democrats are getting a little ghetto lately and a very unhinged, where the words they're using now as official representatives of the people, well, they're inciting violence. Are they not?
They are. They're dropping a lot of F-bombs, and you got a lot of very crude attacks on both Musk and on Trump, and it's because They've cut off the Democrats' gravy train. That USAID was providing unlimited resources for all kinds of bizarre projects involving transgender, woke this, woke that. It was absurd. And now, as you say, even Marco Rubio has confirmed some 83% of their projects were misconceived, misspent. But the Democrats are unhappy. They cannot accept the fact they lost. And now they're losing their source of endless funding.
Yes, they are big time. And one of the people, or I should say, one of the organizations that's complaining about it is, you'll see here, is Act Blue. Jim, I'm sure you're well aware of this. Act Blue, who we haven't even talked about in years. Well, they're now in major crises now. Democratic fundraising giant rocked by mass exodus now. And there's a whistleblower that is now really screaming to the fullest capacity of the the red flags happening and the discrepancies now, corruption. So let me tell you about this, Jim. As the Democratic Party primary fundraising platform, it's all going dry. And now Ted Cruz over there in Texas is ramping up investigations into Act Blue. And they fueled the GOP efforts to hold accountability. Okay, so Jim, this is no coincidence that Act Blue, that we haven't heard about since Obama was in office, their money supply is cut off. This is how they fund gangbangers to take out Seth Rich. This is how they fund the hire a protest for the day kind of fund. It's all seeming to be drying up. And Jim, doesn't that just represent how dangerous of an era we're going into now in 2025?
And even Democrat donors are not donating to the Democrats. And you have the Biden Library Project dead in the water. And the Autopan scandal is showing that he wasn't actually running the government. He was so incompetent. Turns out 6 different felons were pardoned on a day when he was off on an island on a holiday. I mean, the whole thing is revealing that it was not really Joe Biden who was running the government. I think they're going to even unveil that he wasn't even the guy who was a Denver senator who appears to have died in 2017, as I've been emphasizing endlessly for years.
Oh, Jim, you don't think that's true, right? Are you trying to tell me that Joe Biden of Scranton, Delaware, was not running the entire federal government as the president? Jim, I find that very, very believable, actually.
He wasn't even the guy inaugurated in 2020, who had a different shape and size skull, had different handwriting. I mean, it had different interaction with Jill. It was all a monstrous charade. And Jill and Hunter, for all we can tell, were actually the ones making the decisions in signing the executive orders with the Autopan. It was a disgrace. And there are attorneys general calling for the voiding of all the decisions, all the executive orders made by Biden with the Autopan, because he was not the agent responsible for their dissemination.
Jim, do you realize what this means? And this comes at the same time now. They're digging up the napkin with that it's also called Obama's birth certificate. They're digging that up and saying that's now invalid. And we know for a fact that Sheriff Joe Arpaio's posse over there in Arizona discovered 9 forgeries on that thing. Jim, do you realize what we could literally time travel, or as Sheriff said, we could turn back time and make things right here, could we not?
Well, to an extent, Dean, you got to undo a lot of very bad policies that were enacted by the Democrats. I think it could happen a whole lot faster than anyone ever imagined if indeed they can carry this all the way to the Supreme Court, which I believe will happen, and fast. So there's a lot going on here. But the Democrats have disgraced themselves when you throw in not just that Macron is married to a man, but Obama is married to a man. And Dean, all this is coming out. There's no way to hide it.
Jim, by far, Macron's the worst. He's not only married to a man, he's married to his father. God, Jim, I'll tell you, if my father ever came near me with a wig on, I'd punch him out. But Jim, check this out before we go to break here. This is, I think you're right. The revealing, and I think the black swan moment is, hey, Biden was fake the whole time. That's my pick. But look at this now. It is coming out. What you saw is the White House and the Oval Office. Well, you might want to think again and check your dots and cross your T's and dot your I's. Here it is.
Biden's fake Oval Office, everybody. And I've actually figured this out. I now know what. Get it. Turn the camera around. There is a screen, teleprompter to the face. All I can say is the last administration was a disgrace. We're in Biden's fake Oval Office.
Okay, Jim, let's, as you saw there, that clearly Biden's Oval Office was really at Sears at the mall the whole time. Who would have ever guessed that? You want to?
Well, they had a fake set in the Eisenhower executive wing, and all the reporters knew it because they had audience chairs. They could see this giant teleprompter. They knew the whole thing was staged. Remarkably, none of them got around to reporting it.
Exactly. We knew the whole time, and we were telling people that. Okay, Jim, we have a break coming up here. I'm going to bring you back with John Bowne on the other side here of situations. Stand by. Okay, we're going to take this quick break. When we get back here, we're going to be now divulging a few more stories and taking a few of your questions, comments, and concerns here because, you know, this is I think there is no coincidences that they being the CCP-like Democrats are trying to unearth holy hell on America as their crime organization and syndicate is now being revealed and curb stomped into the past and the history of everything that is criminal in this country is just being thrown away. So we're going to talk about that and more Zelensky stories and Canada, definitely Canada. So you're watching World at War, the #1 late night show. That shadow band, just the way you like it. Stand by, we'll be back. And because if you're not awake by now, if you are totally unbelieving what's right in front of you, if you still think it's a narrative you were spoon-fed by your oppressors, and that's the case, then you are missing the boat. You are doing a disservice to your country, to your fellow man and human, to your world. You are not understanding it by now. And how do we reach you? Do we lobotomize you, put wires in your brain with a can connected to it so I can just yell in it?
He sits down as he waits for his guests. His coffee does not help the time pass. Disappointment sets in. If he only had real deal coffee to indulge in, when its chocolate-covered almonds and maple syrup citrus finish, roasted right here in the US of A, life would only be that much better. Real deal coffee. Because indulgence is just a cup away.
Welcome back to World at War. Yes, it is. Welcome back, everybody. I'm still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond. Tonight is brought to you by Ivermectin. You got Ivermectin. Feeling ill, feeling sick, feeling great, and just want to be prepared for the futuristic war that we're all discovering at the same time. Well, all you got to do is go to the wellness company and get some Ivermectin today. Today. Well, this is all you have to do here. You got to go to www, which stands for World Wide Web, I believe. You know, I don't know what these kids are into. World Wide Web, www.twc.health/Dean Ryan. And when you get there, make sure to use promo code Dean Ryan for some great savings. Speaking of savings, if you're like me, you like savings, well, you're in luck. I have some great news for you. Well, become a night owl and join Jim Fetzer, myself, and the rest of the Real Deal Media crew. And in fact, you can really even join Vito Corleone if he is around. Well, this is what we have going now. It is March Madness. It is March Madness. And with March Madness, well, we have a madness deal for you and you only. Become a Real Deal Media member and get 35% off the annual membership. We don't do this often. But when we do, you know, and all you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv/membership and make sure to use promo code madness for 35% off. I mean, what a deal of a lifetime, as they say. Let's get back to World at War. Okay. We have a little bit more to go here, and I'm going to bring our little trio here back to the table. Let's bring all the way from Austin. Is he ready? Okay, yes. Let's bring back the one and only John Bowne. Thank you for being here. And Jim will join us in a second. He went to the facilities here.
Oh, good.
But John, you know, while we wait for Jim, and we're going to do some questions and what have you and stuff. But, you know, speaking about Austin, and,
I like
you know, I've lived there twice, you know, off and on and nearby. And you want to talk about cities that have changed drastically. And Austin used to be cool. It was
yeah. When did you start going into Austin?
Well, when I was 2013.
Yeah, even from then, it's changed. Yeah,
it really has. I mean, it's still cool. There's great things about it, but
sure. But
there's a lot of things.
Keep your head on a swivel. Yeah.
Okay, let's bring back Jim Fetzer, who was just on a secret mission. He skydived here. I think he's here now. Jim, welcome back. Okay.
Skydiving out of the facilities.
Okay, we have a few stories to get to here, and we have a lot of questions, comments, and concerns. Rumble's on fire here tonight. Here's a few questions. There is... Okay, they want to talk about tariffs here, and we're just going to get to people's comments, questions here. Or let's talk about what's going on in Canada. Jim and John, I'll just, you know, pipe in here. It seems to be a trade war. Now, this is coming also with now the reports now of Canada's caving to Trump. I don't know if we're aware of this now, as Ontario Premier Ford suspends electricity surcharge after Trump hiked steel and aluminum tariffs. You know, he was talking tough just the other day. I think everybody saw those clips of Ford doing such. But this is a kind of a U-turn, and to hear what he has to say about it, let's hear Wimpy himself speak to us here as he's talking about tariffs, and I'm going to get your guys' take on it, as I'm quite curious how this will end. Well, where is it, damn it? Well, anyways, here it is. This is Ontario Ford. Well, he's speechless, as you can see there. So, you know, words are not needed. Jim, John, please save the show here tonight and tell me, what are your thoughts? Jim, why don't we start with you? You've been around.
I think Trump's proven to be a master with all this tariff business. Many people were profoundly skeptical, but seems to be working. He's got to reverse NAFTA, all this outsourcing, everything else, bring business back to the U.S. I think he's got the right idea. And of course, he's the master of the deal. So we're going to see how this plays out. Did you know that Alberta was sending an emissary down to Trump to suggest Alberta could become a state, a new member of the United States.
Jim, I believe I was the first one who floated that idea. I'm glad that people are listening to me. John, do you want to weigh in on this?
Well, I just want to say to our Canadian friends, we hold no angst towards you as U.S. citizens. And I'm sorry for all of the guffaw that has gone on and the hee-haw and the throwing about and the anger towards singing the national anthem. But I do know that you have a prime minister coming in that is a plant of plants. And you thought Justin Trudeau was bad. Well, just wait.
There's a lot of truth behind that. Thank you very much. I think John's right. Yeah, he's a total tool, not a plant here. Okay, here's some other people here. We have Susan Stevens saying the following. Okay, we have Susan saying the following. I'm putrefied, excuse me. Putrefied's for cats only. That Fucht book will not allow live shows going forward. Guest shows must be done, and then we look for you afterwards as notifications don't always show up plenty. Okay, let me explain that too. It's quite confusing. If you're just getting here, many of us who exist on Facebook, and my entire archive is there, we just got notified that all live shows have a lifespan of 30 days only, and then they automatically get deleted. So you could still watch it on Facebook, but it won't be there long, I guess you could say. So, you know, those nostalgic moments, Jim, where I like to watch our old classic reruns together, I won't have that luxury anymore with fan reactions and people I don't see anymore. It's all gone. It's all changing. I wonder why. Why do you think that is, Jim? You want to weigh in on that? And I know John thinks... I'll tell you what he thinks about Demi Moore, but go ahead, Jim.
Well, it's a simplification of the censorship process. A lot of old shows had a lot of truth in them, and they can't go back and censor those, so they're just going to make them no longer available. Because all the new shows, they got the apparatus to do it. They got the algorithms. They got the automated processes. So I think it's really to, revise history by deleting it.
Absolutely. And if I could step on your toes there, just as an editor for Infowars, occasionally I'll put together an old report, a few old reports together, and what is old is new again. And sometimes it's more impactful. Something that we covered years ago has now come to fruition, and to have that historical perspective to, throw about and educate yourself or re-educate yourself on that particular issue. I think what Fuckbook is doing, Fucht book. Sorry,
yeah. I don't know what that other one is. Go ahead.
Yeah, is doing is basically a 1984 Orwellian move.
Yeah,
and
it's another way of assessing reliability of sources when you can get their history and see how often they got it right. I mean, I think Infowars is outstanding in that regard. You, Alex, have got so many things so right from the beginning, but they're not going to allow you to demonstrate your trustworthiness by going back to the past. They're going to preclude it.
Well, just to be that guy at the party that reads a book at the house party, let me be that guy. Could it be, Jim, could it be the fact that they just can't afford the storage anymore because Facebook is losing money because everybody has fled the platform big time over the course of 5 years and a little bit beforehand? They just probably don't have the data space in these big, huge warehouses. So I think it's a sign of the times.
Actually, data storage has become cheaper and easier. It's virtually infinite. So I don't think that is the problem. But losing money, now that's a whole nother matter. I have so little interaction with Facebook now. I got tossed a couple of times in the distant past for exposing too many inconvenient truths that I've been really separated from Facebook for quite a while.
Yeah, I completely wiped myself off of Facebook, every trace.
Yeah.
But I just noticed today on the last report I put up on Substack that a lot of, well, at least a portion of the traffic came from Facebook, and I have no idea how that happened because I haven't been sending it to Facebook. So apparently that last report I did was shared by somebody on Facebook, and then those people went to Substack to check it out, which is
kind of in closing on that topic. And see what Susan, a great question. You got us back and forth, but I think it's a testament to say to this audience too. By the way, as we approach our 5-year anniversary, and we're going to be promoting that more, and we hope you join us for a very festification March 19th. You'll hear more about that. But, Jim and John as well, who's been doing shows with Jim and myself for 10 years, since we were at iHeartRadio, Jim. I think it's a testament that in the face of just historic censorship, shadow banning, algorithms that we didn't even understand and we had to learn as it happened, I think it's a very testament symbol that this audience has managed to stay with the flow of the show all these years when there's no notifications or all the modern kind of alerts people are used to today. So I think, it's old fashioned like that, John, TV guide and what have you. Okay, here's another one here. So we're going to, I want to get your take on John. I want to ask you because you probably remember this story more than I do. This is Act Blue, and it's happening out of Texas. We just covered it in the last segment before the break. Trying to refresh my memory. Act Blue is responsible for the Obama election in victory. Were they not in both elections of 2008 and 2012?
Yeah, it goes that far back. But Act Blue, what they did was they would go and get small donations from liberal people that would put their credit card information down, and then that would get passed along. It turns out that would get passed along, and these people would continue to be charged, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that's all being exposed now. And then the Act Blue money itself, the pipeline of where that went, fueling the Soros and Antifa protests and just the inner cancer that is, after post George Floyd and what went down in the States. We're going to find out that Act Blue had a lot of those donations went into destroying the United States. So we're again paying for our own destruction.
Right. We certainly are. And within as well, in the bad foods that we eat. Okay. We have Kenny 59B on Rubble saying Daddy Bush was a cocaine trafficker, so they didn't have to ask government for CIA money. Jim, is that true? Was Bush Sr., was he dealing blow on the streets?
Prescott.
Oh, read Transformation of America, and you find that a young girl scared him. Well, they were scared of Dick Cheney too, but they were both pedophiles. Really disgusting stuff. That's Kathy O'Brien, of course. He was a very bad guy. He was really descendant of the Schiffs from Germany. They were big supporters of the Nazis. And while I do believe Hitler performed an economic miracle, there were some bad strains in Germany, and I'm afraid Bush represented the very worst. He rose to a lot of prominence because he had a manner that made him seem so friendly and nice, but he was actually a very vicious, sadistic guy beneath the facade.
Yeah, I mean, that will happen to anybody who's married to someone like a Barbara Bush, who literally, Macron's wife looks more feminine than Barbara did. Okay, I'm getting nightmares already. Okay, last story here. Check this one out. I have something to share with you. I want to get everyone's take on this. Doge has really taught us a thing or two. Well, LGBT activists arrested as ringleader of international pedophile network. Say it ain't so. I'm not sure that's as seen in real life there, but it's a great depiction. You have now the French National Police inaugurated its Office of Minors, which is news. And they're finding some indiscrepancies in the LGBTQ kind of organizations across the world here. But wait, there's more. Just when you thought people were sick of the LGBT drag queen story time, well, now the first tranny senator, I believe, over there in Vermont or something in the Northeast, they're it's getting weird because you can't call them by their fake name anymore, by their stage name. People are starting to call them by their birth name, which it causes a real ruckus. And well, damn, and I had that. But let's talk about this now, because what I'm understanding, Jim and John, is that the LGBTQ and the last administration, that was a front for trafficking children. And that's why you see a lot of these DEI programs in LGBT and all these like what's it doing in Sri Lanka? You know, what's it doing in all these places? And now we know. And it's all up and down Africa. Wherever the black people are in this world, there is LGBT there. And just how big is this?
Yeah, I think Biden was trying to out Epstein. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to find that out, that at the end of that road where he threw, $3 million to give condoms to transsexual prostitutes in Sri Lanka, that there was some business going on there with child trafficking. I mean, hopefully we continue to go down this path and get all of the receipts on what went down. But I mean, were we on acid for the last 4 years? How did we even let any of this happen? How did we live through this? Wait, how did we even, as a country that was we're going on 250 years and we're built on this moral high ground,
right? That's a good question.
How did we go through the last 4 years? Where were we?
Jim, I think John has a point, because now even this is coming out here. This is Elon Musk post. Over 165 school employees have been arrested, sentenced so far for 2025. So far in 2025 are charges relating to child sex crimes. We have a massive pedo crisis in our schools. Jim, I see the stage being set for a lot of declass. I wasn't anticipating a lot of the files to be declassed right away. I think they're doing it around certain elections, and they also want to see, I think they're using it as leverage to get people to turn within certain parameters of the so-called Democrat Party. But is the time right now? Because Elon says it is.
Well, I think that might be right. Notwithstanding Trump, photographs with Epstein and Ghislaine and other stuff like that. Frankly, I don't think he was into child sex. He had all these wonderful, beautiful women throwing themselves at him. I've never seen the attraction of child sex interaction. It seemed to me really irresponsible and repulsive to an adult man who wants to have sex with a woman who wants to have sex with him. Now, I believe so much of this happened under the Democrats. There's a tremendous benefit to Trump to expose a whole lot of it. It's having a decimating effect on the Democrats. And when it goes all the way as high as Obama, and then if you go further back, not just at W, but even to GHW, I think it could be devastating for the Democrats might not win another national election for 20 years. The truth is coming out. I think this Dodge thing is fantastic. And the corruption we already know. I mean, he's only been in office for, a month and a half or whatever. I mean, it's just amazing. John, you're
Yeah. John, are we seeing the stage being set now here as we close the night? Are we seeing the beginning of to prepare the American people for what has been right in front of us this entire time, complete and utter monsters?
Well, I think a lot of people are pretty disappointed at this point with Pam Bondi, but there are inklings and hints now that something is about to break.
It is.
Yeah, and so it may be maybe this week, it may be next week, but we all have somewhat of a gut feeling about what we want to see. We've all seen the names of people that have been there. We've heard the stories of Bill Clinton from other eyewitnesses with underage girls. We've heard just countless stories already from witnesses. To have it all documented and to have it
Absolutely.
all, on hard drives.
I'll tell you, it's coming soon, John. That's what we can all feel. We're reaching that fever pitch moment, but we're going to have to now go to this. Now it's going to lead us to the following. The white zone is for loading only. Mind the gap. Final thoughts here. Why don't we start with our patron saint, friend of the show, John Bowne. Final thoughts, and then we'll end with you, Jim.
My final thoughts are that I would actually like to be one of the Mickey Mouse Club here at the Real Deal Media and have something prepared to bring to you in my own way of speaking. Something a bit more poetic to bring to this production that really draws all of those people in that have had enough and want a little bit more out of life. And I believe I can give that to them.
I agree.
Most concerned about two contradictions at the heart of the Trump agenda. On the one hand, he wants to end the war in Ukraine because so many innocent men, women, or children are being killed. He wants to stop it. Why is he not applying the same principle to Gaza? Because endless numbers of innocent men, women, and children are dying there too. Donald, be consistent in them both. Second, he's talking about promoting freedom of speech. He's going to be the greatest champion of free speech America's ever had. On the other, he's deporting and punishing schools that have allowed protests against the genocide in Gaza. That's not consistent. That's wrong. I regard this issue of the First Amendment and freedom of speech to be a litmus test for Donald Trump's integrity and moral qualification to be president of the United States. And right now, sad to say, he's failing.
Yes, he is. We didn't even have time to get to that here tonight. Jim, okay, my final thought is, we're going into dangerous times here with, the country and people like John and Jim and people at Infowars and the independent media. We are the last buffer of freedom of thought, speech, and true diversity in the wake of the censorship and the face, rather, and all kinds of international just henchmen that are using the NGOs to get at us. So let's support John Bowne. And John, how do we find your work that you are doing?
You can find me at Bowne Report at Substack.com or, of course, at band.video at Bowne Report.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And also, I guess it's a good time to Jim's new show on the BBC is going to be coming this weekend. Fetzer on Air. Can't wait for that one. Love that.
Love it.
Classic.
Featuring the Munchkin. Yeah, the Munchkin and his Moscow Mule. And Jim, I really love the new direction you're going with style. I mean, this was just you on Saturday. Yes, in a deep thought you were. But anyways, we're going to leave it there. Okay, for John Bowne, for Jim Fetzer, and for everyone else here at Real Deal Media, I'm Dean Ryan. It's so good to be back. A lot to share with everybody. I'll be back tomorrow night. In the meanwhile, never forget to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night, everybody.
I know I'm not
Show's over.